The Brain Aneurysm Foundation will hold an event Sunday at Fenway Park to raise funds and awareness throughout the country. Brain aneurysms affect 30,000 people every year. To talk about the efforts to help pay for research and support networks for survivors is our guest, the Foundation's Executive Director, Christine Buckley. Thank you very much for being with us, Christine.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it.
There are many people who don't know much about what an aneurysm is. Over the years, I've always heard about this kind of a crisis, but to talk about what exactly happens.
Okay, so the basic stats are 1 in 50 people have one. That's about 3 to 6 million people in the U.S. 30,000 people a year rupture, and half those people die. So what an aneurysm is, it's an outpouching in the vessel wall of a vessel in the brain.
This is a blood vessel, of course, we're talking
Exactly, the blood vessel. So when they form, we don't really know what causes the rupture. We don't really know. The one key thing, like a lot of other diseases, is smoking can lead to the formation as well as the rupture.
I guess it's also important for people to know some of the early symptoms, because the earlier you act on this, the better it is probably.
Absolutely, that is key. So the general signs are headaches, eye pain, neck pain. You could feel fluey, but for a lot of people, the headache is the key. If it could be someone who's used to having migraines, but something feels different. It could be someone that never has headaches, that has like a really bad one, and then it might linger a bit. So the key is the headache, and then if anything falls with the vision, the neck, and feeling fluey, you should really go to the doctor and get checked. And the other piece of that also, it does run in families, so there's a family history component. Women are more likely to have a brain aneurysm at a ratio of 3 to 2, and African Americans are more likely to rupture at 2 times the rate.
This is Being on News, and we're talking with Christine Buckley from the Brain Aneurysm Foundation. Christine, there of course are many people who survive this. Overall, what's it like?
Totally varies, and again, like you mentioned earlier, it's knowing the signs and symptoms and getting treated early, because you can't treat a brain aneurysm. If it's there, they can either clip them or coil them. It's when they rupture that things happen that will really take away people's normal lives. So of the people who rupture and half die, out of the other half, 2/3 of them will have some form of deficits. It could be cognitive, it could be physical, it could be both. But a lot of the people who do rupture never resume their normal course of life and are not able to go back to work.
Well, one of the things the foundation is involved in is support networks for survivors.
Yes.
Explain how these work.
Yeah, that was the core of the foundation. It's how it started out of Boston, Mass. back in 1994. It's just to provide information, because like you mentioned, so many people have never heard the word brain aneurysm, and usually when they hear it, it's after someone had one, either they did or a loved one. So it's just the support networks are there to give people the information, and all our support groups that are physical support groups meet in the hospital center. So they're run by usually a nurse, and it's usually people they treated. So it's a place for the patients to come back, encourage the people who have survived, say 3 to 5 years out, come back to encourage the newly survived. Caregivers have an opportunity to meet together and discuss what they're going through. And just because it's a really unique disease, it's even a little different than stroke, because it just comes upon people so suddenly they don't really know about it, that's where the support groups become really important.
What are the most promising avenues for research, you think?
The genetic component is huge, and there are some people that are trying to identify or work with certain genes to see if they are the gene to predict that someone might have one. And then there's also blood-based biomarkers where people are looking to determine, versus the scan and the cost for that, if we could have a blood test to determine, okay, if this is what they see, again, that gene or whatever, that component, it would change a lot of things. It would make it a lot easier to determine if someone does in fact have a brain aneurysm. And as well, even the treatment methods have changed over the years so much with the clips, and now there are coils and stents. There's a new pipeline stent that was only introduced probably 3 to 5 years ago that is saving so many lives now. So they're working on both ends of it.
Of course, you're just recently in Washington trying to advocate for some funding. What was that like?
Well, it's a great day because it pulls together patients, caregivers, some medical device companies, and people who really care about this disease. And we actually had a law that we're lobbying for. It's called Ellie's Law, and it's been presented in the House. So it's $5 million for 5 years through the NINDS for brain aneurysm specific funding. So we have some good traction in the House. We're looking to get some Senate leads. Senator Markey has been a huge supporter, so we're hoping to involve him in that. And, it's obviously a process in Washington, D.C., but they understand about the disease more now. They know who we are. They know what we're trying to do. And right now, 83 cents per person affected by a brain aneurysm per year is all that's spent in brain aneurysm research.
At a time when there's so much planning for budget cuts for a lot of health programs, talk about how important it is for people to turn out for an event like you've got planned for this Sunday, just to show that there are all these people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just hugely important. And again, you talk about the support network. That's what these events become, too, because people meet new people. Some people have never even been to an event like this. They don't know about the organization. They don't know that there are resources for them. So before coming in here today, we just closed down our online registration. We had, I think, over $82,000 raised, and a large portion of this will go out in a research grant. And this year, our research symposium is September 28th down in Carolina in conjunction with Duke University. So it's very important.
Well, Fenway Park is the starting point, and talk about the rest of what this is going to be like. And I think it's going to be good weather to go with this.
Yeah, it's going to be great weather. That I'm thankful for. It's just how it looks. So people come to Fenway Park as early as 7:30 to register day of. The walk and run are going to kick off promptly at 9 o'clock. The run is going to start in the Fens and do 3 loops to get that 5K in. The walk will start right at Fenway. Everybody comes back, goes into the park, the third base side. They get to be with Wally. Hopefully the trophies, there'll be a band there, a few refreshments, and again, people can talk and share stories, and again, raising the awareness and getting the funding for research.
And in the meantime, they can get details on your website.
Absolutely, bafound.org.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Christine Buckley from the Brain Aneurysm Foundation. We'll have more news in just a moment.